Here in this video, we are concerned with the merits and demerits of Bentham and Hooker's classification. In last video, we were discussed about the total outline of Bentham and Hooker's classification, and as far as the Bentham and Hooker's classification, the Bentham and Hooker's classification is having number of merits and some demerits. As far as the Bentham and Hooker classification, you know that Bentham and Hooker, these are the two well-known scientists of Britain, England or Britain, and simply these scientists develops a very well-known natural system of classification, and the system is simply called as or known as the Bentham and Hooker's classification. And this Bentham and Hooker wrote a 3-volume book that is called as a Genera Plantarum, and in this book actually they described a system of classification. Here, as far as this Bentham and Hooker's classification is concerned, there are some merits of the classification and also having some demerits, because the system is depends on the opinion of Bentham and Hooker's, and the system is totally depends on the external morphological characters. It is a natural system of classification, and due to that it is having some demerits as far as the current knowledge is concerned. Then as far as the Bentham and Hooker's merits are concerned, the first merit is Bentham and Hooker described 202 natural orders, or it is also called as cohort, and nowadays it is called as a family. That means Bentham and Hooker described 202 families and 97,205 species. That means 97,205 species are described by Bentham and Hooker and arranged in 202 cohorts or natural orders, and this is the merit of Bentham and Hooker. Then second merit of Bentham and Hooker is there. Bentham and Hooker used external morphological visible characters of the plant, natural characters of the plant, for example stem, root, habit, then internal structure, vascular bundle arrangement, then seed cotyledons, nature of root system, then venation, then flower, nature of flower, position of ovary, perianth. These are some natural characters are used. All these characters are external morphological characters, visible characters, and due to that this system is used or accepted in number of countries for the practical purpose for the identification of plant. That means use of external morphological character is important in practical point of view for the identification of plant. Then third, that is Bentham and Hooker system is purely natural system of classification, because Bentham and Hooker used the natural characters, external visible natural characters of the plant, and due to that it is placed in a criteria that is natural system of classification. Then next merit of the Bentham and Hooker, that is Bentham and Hooker, as far as outline is concerned, the dicot is placed first and monocot later on in the Bentham and Hooker's classification. That means Bentham and Hooker not actually used a phylogenetic character, or not the system is not depend on the phylogenetic character. Instead of that, Bentham and Hooker placed dicot first and monocot later on, and it is acceptable as far as the current knowledge is concerned, because dicots are actually primitive plants and monocots are somewhat advanced plant. Then due to that it is the merit of Bentham and Hooker, that is dicot is placed the first and monocot later on. Then next, that is the use of disciplory, additional series in the Polypetalii, subclass Polypetalii of Bentham and Hooker. Bentham and Hooker placed disciplory in between thalamiflory and caliciflory. This is also some merit, because it contains it differentiates the Polypetalus family into 3 series: thalamiflory, caliciflory and disciplory. That means the addition of disciplory is somewhat a better idea of the Bentham and Hooker's classification. Then next merit, that is description of families and genera, is very accurate. That means all the description in the families all the described genera, that means 97,205 genera species, they are having a accurate description, and the orders are there, families are there, they are also having a accurate description. That means description of families and genera is very accurate in the Bentham and Hooker's classification. Then next, that is seventh merit of the system, that is ranels are placed first in the polypetally, in the thalamiflory, ranels are placed first, and this is the merit of Bentham and Hooker, because currently we are known that the ranel is the primitive, the plants present in the ranels are primitive. For example, magnolias, ranels, dilineals, these are some primitive plants, and they are placed first in number of systems of classification. In phylogenetic classification also, the ranels are placed first. Here also in Bentham and Hooker, ranels are placed first in the subclass polypetally. In the first series thalamiflory, ranel is the first natural order, and due to that it is the merit of Bentham and Hooker's classification. Then the last merit of Bentham and Hooker classification is that Bentham and Hooker classification used for identification of plant, because you know that Bentham and Hooker classification is depends on the external morphological visible characters, and due to that this classification is accepted in most of countries, in number of countries in the world, and used commonly for the identification of plant in the colleges, in the universities. No any other classification used for the identification of plant. Only Bentham and Hooker's classification used for the classification of plant, for the arrangement of genera, arrangement of the floras, development of keys is the system is used, that is Bentham and Hooker, because only it is depends on the morphological external character, and identification of plant becomes easy due to the small external morphological characters, and hence it is used in number of countries for the identification purpose. At the time of practical purpose, for the identification of plant, it is used commonly. This is about the merits of the Bentham and Hooker. Near about 8 merits are there. There are some demerits of the system of classification of Bentham and Hooker. The first demerit is that it is an artificial system. It is supposed as an artificial system because it is not depend on the phylogenetic characters. That means the Bentham and Hooker's classification is not a phylogenetic classification. Phylogenetic classification means it is not depends on the evolutionary interrelationship of plant, but it is just depends on the external morphological natural characters of the plant, and due to that it is having some demerits, it is having some mistakes because it is not depends on the phylogeny. This is the first demerit of Bentham and Hooker, that is the system is not a phylogenetic system, it is totally depend on the artificial characters of the plant. Then second demerit of the Bentham and Hooker, that is gymnosperms are placed in between dicot and monocot. This is totally a wrong position of gymnosperm, or it is a big mistake of the Bentham and Hooker, because gymnosperm is totally a different group. It is ancestral group of angiosperm. It is a primitive group of angiosperm than the angiosperm, and it is a different group because gymnosperms are having naked seeds, gymnosperms are without vessels, hence they are totally different from the angiosperm. They are not having not called as the flowering plants. These are the some characters, most important character, that gymnosperm differs from the angiosperm, and instead of that gymnosperm is placed in between dicot and monocot by the Bentham and Hooker. This is the big mistake, and this is the demerit of Bentham and Hooker's classification. Then third, that is artificial characters are considered, and due to that the closely related families becomes widely differentiated, or widely differentiated families becomes closely related due to the artificial characters used by the Bentham and Hooker. Then next, that is monocotyledone is a monoclamidy is a the addition of monoclamidy is the demerit of the Bentham and Hooker's classification, because monoclamidy is supposed as an artificial group of Bentham and Hooker. Bentham and Hooker classification is an extension of De Candolle's classification, and in this extension simply addition of monoclamide is there, and this monoclamide is additional group of Bentham and Hooker, additional subclass of Bentham and Hooker, and it is a artificial, it is suppose there is an artificial group of Bentham and Hooker. This is the demerit of the Bentham and Hooker. Then next, that is in monocot, importance is given to oviposition. That means natural characters are not used but by the Bentham and Hooker. Instead of that, only one character, one or two character, that is oviposition and nature of pair, these two criteria are used for the differentiation of 7 classes of monocot, and due to that, these class 7 series are having a 7 series arrangement is having a number of mistakes, and due to that, it is simply a demerit of Bentham and Hooker. That means there are some merits and there are some demerits of the Bentham and Hooker, but instead of that, the Bentham and Hooker system of classification is very important system of classification. It is described in a Genera Plantarum, a 3-volume works of Bentham and Hooker. The detailed study of plants are there, and the system is most important system because it is a natural system. It is depends on the morphological, external, visible characters, and due to that, it is accepted in number of countries, and it is used for the practical purpose by number of students, research students, or as well as college students. Number of students, number of institutes, number of colleges, universities are used this system of classification for identification of plant, because the system is easily used for identification of plant because the system is based on morphological, external, visible characters.